do the prep.
Yep. And then we'll do the reshare.
Oh, it's already public. And then I'll try the chat.
I don't see it on YouTube yet.
Yeah, it takes a bit sometimes.
Yeah. On Facebook. There. Tis live. Tis live.
Oh no, I really can't seem to recapture the Facebook chat.
Oh, so we'll have to rely on this one for the chat.
Yeah.
So strange. I wonder what happened. Maybe we'll have to search online if there was a forum or something that discusses what happened.
Why are you already playing with Tube Guy?
I'm very worried about the battery.
And yet you just ran it. So I don't know if that really resolves. So actually I need to see the Facebook chat, not the YouTube one. YouTube should be fine. It's Facebook that I can't see.
Just me, it seems, currently.
So that's no worries. It's a Sunday night. No, it's pretty chill.
You just missed it.
Tube Guy flashing.
It's a quiet Sunday because it's a holiday.
Wow, and what? People went out of town?
Some people have, surprisingly.
I'm sure.
But yeah, we are still in the waiting for the people, starting in a few, early enough to be 7 minutes ahead early, because we're starting at 9:30.
Or is it like it's a super big thing that we're trying 9:30 and then people are not used to the schedule, maybe?
Or they just think there's nothing at 9, so they don't.
Yeah, nga eh, that, even though I announced, but then most people are used to 9:30, 9 o'clock.
Because I don't know if they see the announcement or if most people just check if something's happening at 9.
Did you reshare?
Yeah.
Okay. That always helps.
I know I reshared. I'll open another one just in case. See? There.
Yeah, I saw you share. You can drive a person crazy.
Oh, may lumalaban kay Terraforming Mars.
Hey, David.
There's Ganymede. Hey, David!
So it's just terraforming the moon?
I don't know, but there's a Ganymede board game now. Vampire and Cthulhu RPG books available.
Toby's still scouring the secondary market.
Unfair. Yes, so sometimes we can just order through Geekbox. Free plug.
But you already have Unfair.
Yeah, I ordered it. See, they have the Dune and the Unfair.
Wait, is that the Telaksu?
Yeah. But we already ordered that through someone else.
We did?
It hasn't arrived yet.
Yeah, happy birthday. I didn't know we ordered it. So yeah, we're starting early-ish. My ability to connect to Facebook chat is still borked. I don't know why.
Oh, wait. Okay, David's on YouTube.
Yeah. So I
was about to say I don't see comments in Facebook, but someone is watching in Facebook. Whoever you are, please comment because we can't see who you are right now.
No, it's just you.
It's gone.
I am sending screenshots to Restream.
Hey, Mai. Thanks for joining us. We're still waiting. We're still early. Oily. I'm very oily.
Early, but early for the 9:30. But then we also decided to do the prep time a little earlier, just to compensate for changing the schedule. We're undecided if we want to stick to this, but but the shows are like the bug hasn't been happening if we do it at 9:30. But to be fair, we only tested once, so
yeah, 9 might still be the best slot. It's just tricky sometimes because due to other things, we end up finishing dinner really close to 9, so we end up rushing everything.
Yeah, so there are many benefits to going to 9:30. I'll admit, but then hey, if it doesn't work for you guys, let us know. So it's a question of balancing our needs versus yours.
Okay, the lighting looks dark in the monitor, so let's see if we can bring this up. Nope, that's max. But it's nicely diffused here, but it looks dark in the monitor.
It could also be your monitor.
Oh, you're right. Wait, you're right. Oh, no. I did bring it down because we were eating. And it acts as a secondary fill light.
Sort of. So we're talking about Dune today. Dune.
I think someone else has joined on Facebook, but until you comment, we cannot see who you are.
Not our theme song.
We're down to 2 minutes before we officially start the show.
Yep, but please like the video, share the stream. The cheerleader, admittedly, is optional because it did make a difference when they saved her. It's kind of sad that is already an old reference.
Yeah. I think when they said save the cheerleader to save the world, it was a meta statement.
It was such a big build-up, and then nothing happened.
It was a meta statement. If they didn't try to save the cheerleader,
then the show would stop.
The show would stop, so their world would end.
I am going to sneeze. Excuse me. Okay. Shirts. Talk about shirts. We're wearing the pooping unicorn. It doesn't have a direct correlation to
super
most of the show, but we will have to talk about Jodorowsky sometime today, so that kind of works.
We'd like to thank Julie.
Yes, Julie for these lovely shirts.
Thank you, Julie.
I'm just gonna try to load the photos in the standard photo viewer. I did not consistently choose large images, so I'm so sorry. I can already tell it's gonna be weird.
But that's okay.
What does this do?
We are starting in 1. Oh, it's a real-time
show. Oh, look, and then we can yay, push the logo, and we're still there.
But we don't know if our audio is still there.
We should still because it's both active. Can you still hear us, ladies and gentlemen, if we do this?
David, please comment if you could still hear us the whole time when we shift images.
This.
Yeah, you should do the shifting and we should adjust. But then it's not a Star Trek episode. So.
Oh, it will be,
So like whenever it goes larger. It's 9:30. I guess we can start.
Sure.
On 3.
Should I do this? No. Wait, I'll fix the captions. Oop, that's not it. Of course, it's gone. Okay.
On 3, 2, 1. This is Toby.
And this is Rocky.
And if it's your first time here, welcome to Baduy Pride, our little space on the internet where we talk about anything we want.
Wow, you really changed your delivery there. And this is completely unscripted and not entirely accurate, but at least it's honest. Join us as we talk about everything and anything, random, live.
And if it's not your first time here, thank you so much for your continued support. Please continue to share the stream. And we've got 30 minutes to talk about today's topic. And our topic is
Dune.
Why Dune? Because it is still Rocky's birthday this weekend. So it's something he
That's
loves.
not how dates work. But we're going to talk about the different Dune movie adaptations because over the weekend they have finally announced dun, 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 when the trailer for the new movie is coming out. I don't know why they just don't release the trailer, but it is what it is. So we are going to get it in early. I saw that early September. And to talk about let's talk about the journey of Dune and the many movies, or at least the many attempts to translate Dune into a multimedia experience
or to a new franchise that they'll hope to milk in terms of, we've never really gone beyond a number of books in the adaptations that have happened.
What are you trying to say? I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, with all the Marvel cinematic universe,
there are
and all
6
this and
Dune books that really count. Then that's about it.
But before we talk about the movies, we have to start with Dune itself. There might be some viewers who have never encountered it, or the most they know about it is it's what you tell the jeepney driver, "Adon po ako dun." So what is Dune?
And I have 2 copies. Look, well, these are currently. So this is the newer edition with the Neil Gaiman introduction. Super pretty.
I'm trying to find that.
This is my second copy of this same edition. Because it is what it is. Dune is it's a big science fiction series written by Frank Herbert. It talks about a not so distant future where, man, it's really hard to describe the premise of Dune. But it's a known universe where the most important substance in that universe is something called the spice melange. And melange is an awareness expanding spice that makes people smarter, think better. It enables interstellar travel and many other things. So it has become the main currency of this period.
It is like the magic bullet to make everything better if you control it.
Yeah. So then, hence, he who controls the spice controls the universe. And we focus on a particular family, this being the Atreides family, and their journey to Dune, because they're about to take control of it as like the new governors. But there's a whole plot around it. They know it's a trap. They know that the previous persons in charge of Dune, House Harkonnen, are their like sworn enemies, and something's up. And that's like the most basic premise, if I don't want to spoil something that was released in 1965. So.
Dune is remarkable in the sense that not only does it touch on science fiction tropes, but it also explores politics, religion, social dynamics, classism, and
the role of computers.
Yeah.
And on the whole, I think what's always striking about Dune is that, what a lot of people make the comparison is that many praise Lord of the Rings for its world building, for fantasy. Dune was sort of the equivalent for science fiction initially at that time. So it's a big series. And more often than not, people talk about Dune as being unfilmable or not adaptable to other media, that it can only survive as a book. This thing, you see this ancient thing, it's actually several books, quote unquote, put together, but it really is part of a single story, in the same way that I guess you could argue that the original Star Wars trilogy used to be a single treatment that got split into multiple movies. So that's Dune. And despite the talk about it being unfilmable, there have been actually several attempts to film it and to make movies. So we're going to talk about those today. Hooray! All right. Toby's is trying different variations of shark coming in.
Okay. Because that's our theme today. It's Dune. And if you don't know what that means, you'll find out once we start flashing the images.
I hope this works, though.
So we'll start with the first, the first released adaptation.
The first commercial movie released, which is by David Lynch.
Because officially it is not the first
attempt.
But we will talk about the first actual release. Okay?
Yeah, and so when we talk about the 1984 Dune,
it was for its time considered unthinkable in the sense that it was it was longer than 2 hours.
Yes,
For
and
a movie.
they had to pare it down a bit from the original cut. And
It was a movie that loved the writing so much that many people were wondering why so many scenes had people not talking because it was the voiceovers.
yeah, you could hear everybody's thoughts. So there was a lot of voiceover, and it's a lot of introspective thing. And then
It was directed by David
Lynch.
who is known for having very surreal, odd movies. He had a vision for the movie that was quite, I guess you could say, you had a word for it earlier. I was about to say unique, but you had a more specific word.
Of course, I'm not going to remember what that one word is. Grandiose, or
because when you see the outfits, you know it's Dune.
Yeah, indulgent,
distinct. Very distinct.
That was my word. That sounds like a complicated word to bring
very
up.
Distinct look for what the film should have. The way they would do the effects, the way they would do the navigators.
I mean, like, if you look at this example here, on the character on the left is the mother's.
Francesca Annis as Slade. Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
Wow,
no.
Who are you reading? But she is
a
member of the Bene Gesserit sister. She was the leader, actually, and a truth speaker. And this whole bald woman aesthetic was very bizarre. It made them look very alien, but it worked. And then you have the regalness of the emperor. Everything is gold because, of course, he's a money grubbing emperor, and that's his shtick. So there was that. And then in addition, of course, I can no longer scroll to my next image. Wait.
Jed, of course, shares it, did not like it, but that's okay because the movie was divisive in that way. But continue.
I can't go to the next image. Wait.
Oh, you'll have to go to the smallest, and then that's when you can move to the next right. Left and right doesn't work?
No, it's stuck.
Okay, then leave the...
Or I can make it big. And
there, the arrow now just... There.
Okay.
So you had the way they represented force fields.
Yeah, I super like the way that they depicted shields. I mean, it's a very, very small detail from the book, but shields in Dune are not like Star Trek shields where they just bounce stuff. In this case,
they weren't meant to be polished. They weren't meant to be perfect.
Yeah, and they have a fatal flaw. If you fire a laser gun at the shield, it explodes with the power of an atomic blast. So they tried to capture that in the movie as this weird blocky overlay on them. And the thing about shields in the Dune universe is that a slow blade, so slow moving objects can pierce the shield, sort of like in Star Wars and the prequels, where they had those big blue bubble shields, but if you walk through them, you could get through them. So I think that was a nice bit of aesthetic that they brought in. The still suits are iconic and ridiculously heavy. In this case, we have Jessica and Paul, and this whole leathery still suit look carried over, and many other media kind of stuck to this view, and they liked how it worked, and it largely worked. So a lot of the aesthetics really of this movie were, my God.
And it was amazing how the clothing, it was layered clothing, it was thick and
probably uncomfortable in the desert.
But at the same time, visually, it looked like it was organic. It looked like it was a muscle structure on the body.
Yes.
Which I guess was trying to capture how it was described in the book as something that enveloped the body.
Yeah, because it was really supposed to, I mean, that your act of moving and breathing powered the suit.
And then it collected every droplet of bodily fluid, supposedly.
Yeah.
To recycle it.
And then, of course, the worms in the original one were beautiful miniature things, and they looked nicely epic. And yes, you have to ride the worm. And then again, because the look and feel of this movie was so distinct, you have the Harkonnens, and the Baron Harkonnen looked horrible. He was absolutely repulsive, and it was such a visual way to match his characterization. I mean, here he was literally someone having boils created on his face, and we never understand why he would do these things. But
it was sort of like the director's way of showing how corrupt and how
really the pustils on his face stress his corruption and his vileness. And then, of course, this Dune also gave us the very, very strange thing in a bird umbrella, a bird
diaper.
underwear thing. I don't know. Yeah,
A
it was not flattering.
In as much as it wasn't flattering, you find it surprisingly, what's the word? It echoes.
Unforgettable.
It echoes throughout various other later productions. Everything from Sean Connery's sci-fi movie, whose name that eludes me right now, to even Dr. Manhattan's weird diaper.
That's true, and it kind of has the same V
angular
wing shape.
Forms and all that. So the influence is there.
Yeah. So I mean, beyond all this, when you think about this version of Dune, it was ambitious. It really tried to capture a lot of the book, and the decision to go with voiceover was a questionable one. It made it a lot harder for people to appreciate it because it was a movie that mumbled to itself, and everybody just had all this weird stuff going on. But it had a very nice look and feel to it. Many of the early computer games based on Dune followed this movie aesthetic.
Yes.
And that worked out. Especially, I love that there were later strategy games that had the I didn't get a picture, but of the sand harvester that shaped like a bug. And it was just cute. It was just super cute. And as much as it was much reviled at the time of release and it was super expensive, I honestly like it. As a Dune fan, I super appreciate it because it really helped bring the movie to life for me.
Following that, many years.
Okay, so the 10-minute bug still happens. Maybe we should just go back to 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
I can't see Facebook chat. Sorry. You may want to load that.
Yeah, we're waiting for
synchronization with the great black spot.
The black screen. It should be back. Back. Dune. Then we're back. Okay, there.
Notice that the caption changed, even though the video is out.
Yeah, so it loses the feed, but it keeps broadcasting, which is exactly what's happening. So from 1984, it will then take a number of years, pretty much in the year 2000, for the next adaptation to happen.
Yep, and there's no real, and I'm gonna make the mistake of zooming in, which will make my life difficult. So they figured, hey, you can't make it into a movie. Let's make it into a miniseries. And
with a miniseries, we can cover the material at a certain pacing.
Yeah,
we won't have another 2-hour long monstrosity. And I mean, come on, 2 hours is now small considering the Snyder Cut with 4 hours,
which is also a miniseries.
But yeah.
What it gave us instead are Bene Gesserit sisters with wings on their heads. So the Sci-Fi Channel miniseries, and this is when sci-fi was still spelled with a Y, had a very distinct look and feel that was a mishmash of influences that sometimes looked very Asian, that looked, I don't know, there were architectural decisions.
I think ultimately the Frank Herbert's Dune miniseries and even following it, the Children of Dune miniseries, were all about their attempts to bring in the diversity of the influences that Frank Herbert drew from. It unfortunately drew from those influences in a way that made them too identifiable.
Yeah, I mean,
suddenly you're like, oh, this group is now the Asian group, and this group is now the...
It had a lot of that weird stuff, and I don't know. I mean, there were questionable choices, but admittedly, the decision to go with a longer format did allow it to cover more stories.
Yes.
They didn't have as much annoying voiceover. There were still some character thought moments, and then we got a very needy Paul Atreides and I think it was Alec Newman. Alec Newman, yeah. And it was okay. I mean, it was just very weird. It was very difficult to get used to it. It had very, very extensive use of CG for backgrounds and whatnot.
And it was 3 episodes.
three. Okay, when you say 3 episodes, you underestimate. It's like 3 long episodes. I mean, it was really it was a big thing. And then like again, we got Paul being shirtless in his big fight, and also his Fade Rotha, which is not quite the same. The worm was very striking. They wanted to give it as many fiddly bits as possible. I don't know why, but
maybe it's early.
Because it was the year 2000, so it was it's that era of the look of science fiction.
Maybe
so.
Inspired by Tremors.
Maybe
the 1990s that had all the teeth and the wet bits.
But really, there were just so many costumes like this. Like the Sardukar have like these baker's berets, which I don't understand. And beyond that, like the Harkonnen troops, I think looked like sort of samurai warriors ish, and it was just what are these influences? I don't know. But it got to cover more than just the first book. So because there was a second miniseries, which was Children of Dune, then we got to get to they actually covered Dune Messiah and Children of Dune and sort of the Children of Dune miniseries, and thus we got an early James McAvoy as Leto II, and he had a lot of weird. Feeling himself shirtless, running around shirtless, dreaming shirtless. It was a lot of shirtless for a cowboy, and I don't know why, but I was kind of into it. It was okay. But that was like so the between those two miniseries, they covered a lot more Dune material than any other adaptation. It was just the aesthetic confused me the heck. I didn't quite get why they wanted it to look this way.
Before we move on to the next adaptation, let's go to some of the comments.
We can't flash comments today, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so I'll just have to read it. We have Jed, who admits he didn't like the movie. He lost it after the hand on fire part. Maybe you'd like to talk about
the
that.
agony box, because the box that contains pain. It's a key scene from the book, and I felt like the movie did a really good job of bringing it to life. Admittedly, that's one of my favorite scenes of the movie.
You're
as
sharing
a
the
guy,
window?
huh?
You're sharing the window.
No, it's
okay.
Don't. Okay, and then what else?
Julie says she had the DVD.
Children of Dune. We had the VCD, and then we had to get the DVD.
And she loves shirtless McAvoy. Again, right? Julie, thank you for the shirt.
There was a lot of just McAvoy running around, being all sad and thoughtful and confused and needing to touch his chest in a very slow manner. So, but for the longest time, that was it. That was that's all we got for Dune, and we were done.
So it would not be until practically a decade later.
Yeah, in 2013.
When we would then have our next Dune, Dune content. Because this wasn't a adaptation, but this was a documentary about an attempt to do Dune, which was an attempt from way back, all the way from the 70s, to be more precise.
And this is like the first attempt to create a Dune movie.
It was in the early 70s where Alejandro Jodorowsky had this vision of creating a Dune movie, despite never having read the books.
Never reading the book, having no plans of reading the book. He just liked concepts of it and then ran with it.
And in his vision, he recruited people like H.R. Giger. That's how you say it.
I would say Giger.
Salvador Dali, and all these.
It was super ambitious. There was just so much going on with what he wanted to do in that. And the 2013 documentary. Oh, now you can't see me. The 2013 documentary does a great job of covering the uniqueness of his approach to Dune. And if you just look at some of the character designs, I mean, what's going on here? But at least you could still kind of get a feel like, obviously, this big fat person in the middle is Baron Harkonnen. And that's about as far as I go. So
for the artwork, they had the late French artist Mobius.
Yeah, because they also did
the visual designs,
comics and stuff.
They were tapping Pink Floyd for the soundtrack. The reason this documentary ended up being born was because people wanted to cite how this insane vision of Jodorowsky despite the movie never having been completed,
Yeah.
influenced the creation of so many other pop culture creations in the coming years.
See, Jodorowsky Dune is like the Snyder cut of Dune. Like people wanted to know more about it, and the documentary, which is actually a very fascinating documentary, talks about how it may have influenced many other things because a lot of what was done to prepare for Jodorowsky's Dune and not fully used
They
may have manifested
Mhm.
in other movies like Star Wars and
Alien,
and 2001.
the idea being, with all their storyboards, with all the news of what they were working on, with all the sketches and the pre-visualizations and all the discussions of what he wanted, which included supposedly an opening scene of some sort of celestial galaxy, um, insemination of some sort, and being born.
To understand Jodorowsky's Dune, it sounds like in the manner it was written, you probably need to, I don't know, take some narcotic substance, you need to be on acid, whatever, to get a chance of understanding the state of mind. Because he really envisioned his Dune as a drug trip of some
So
sort.
one of his quotes was, "I wanted a musical group for every planet. Pink Floyd, they will make the music for Leto. Pink Floyd will have a record, Dark Side of the Moon. For me, that is the human being, like the moon. One side is brilliant, light, and the other side, who is dark, the unconscious, what is mysterious, what is deep."
Jodorowsky's a trip, man. and I'm super glad we got a copy of the
The
documentary.
documentary is amazing.
It's a lot of
if
fun.
you can find it, watch it, because you will end up wishing you could see the movie he wanted to create,
Yes, release the
Despite-
Jodorowsky cut.
despite knowing it had nothing to do with the books.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. I don't know what story he was telling. It just happened to be called.
And it was a movie we wanted to see.
Yes, yes. Okay, and that brings us to
Another drought of silence until 7 years pass.
and we have what little we know of the new Dune.
Upcoming.
Yeah, so we've been kind of waiting for the trailer of this movie for a while, and it got delayed because of the pandemic. Because it was supposed to debut at one of the conventions or
Yes,
something, and then
it's currently targeted for release this December, but of course that remains to be seen. The French-Canadian director is, I will not attempt to say his name.
say it.
No,
Say
known
it.
for movies such
Say
as
it.
The Arrival,
Say it.
Sicario, The Enemies. Enemies is actually one of my.
I
The
can
Enemies
help
is
you.
one of
I'll
my
say the
favorites.
first one. Dennis.
Villeneuve, I think.
I don't know
I
if that's right.
I do not know for sure, but you may have noticed his work because he worked in the recent Blade Runner 2049 movie. Arrival was one of the big ones which many people noticed. Others noticed him from Sicario.
Toby will always think about it for Sicario.
And there's a very distinct visual language that this director likes. He understands the importance of color. He loves having emotional beats, which is why the current preview images are very confusing.
Yeah,
Because in the preview images, for some reason, they all look alike.
and they all look pretty. I mean, like, look at this main image one. It's like, okay, I know that not every Dune movie has gotten still suits perfectly right.
Mhm.
And I think we see you have some of the layering on this one. That kind of helps. But this little tiny nose piece and no covering of the mouth still bothers me. At least the Dune miniseries of sci-fi had full face masks for
Mhm.
them. And in this time of COVID, hey, you got to wear your mask. Because that's where you lose most of your moisture on the desert planet.
This movie has a tremendously star-studded list of cast members.
Getting Timothy Chalamet for Paul is a very pretty decision for this, but okay, sure. And then
Jason Momoa for Duncan, Idaho.
yeah, and you have
Josh
this
Brolin for Gurney.
yeah, you have this weird like I guess it's the hatch of an ornithopter. We're not sure. We can't see the whole thing.
This is probably them escaping the sandworm.
That's okay. That I'll just say sure. And then
I think so, because that seems to be the only reason they'd be.
in this very dynamic
Yes.
shot, right? And then this one is like really the image that frustrates me, and I don't know, it just confuses me that okay, we have them all standing against the light, and I don't know really who is who unless I recognize the actors.
I'd like to think this is just a publicity or promotional image.
I mean, it
hope
was
it's
part
not,
of it, but if
I
it's
hope
a
it's not from the
scene,
movie.
but it looks like it. I don't know why they're standing posed like this in front of a pseudo Atreides hawk thing. But again, and a lot of people have asked me how I feel about the upcoming movie, and until we see the movie, I guess I can't really say anything. And even just seeing the production stills that were released on Empire and other publications, I don't have a strong opinion for or against it just yet. It's just it's this. It's these people just standing all together, and we're not sure what's going on.
The movie supposedly will be split into 2 films to ensure that the original story will be preserved and not cut into a million pieces. Hans Zimmer, who supposedly turned down working with Chris Nolan and Tennant, will be scoring this. What else? He hopes to make it the Star Wars he never saw, according to one article.
You know what the Star Wars people never saw was Jodorowsky's Dune. So I mean, it's been a weird journey for Dune thus far, and again, so this is like, see, it is still too much material for a single movie, so he's gonna split it, and you can split it because, like I said, Dune. Wow, I opened that perfectly.
See,
It's like multiple books, and like book 2 is Muad'Dib, so but there's a third quote unquote book in this, so I don't know how he's gonna split it. He's probably gonna split it at the at Dune at the Muad'Dib point, I think.
one can look at this as, hopefully this will be one of those movies that sets a trend for how novels will be adapted. Sort of like the way how the Marvel movies have woken up the industry to how comics should be adapted. We'll have to see if that's going to be possible. We have seen other attempts to adapt novels, everything from the Golden Compass, which was...
The movie wasn't great, but the HBO series has a lot more potential.
Then you have, of course, the teen novels, which have been converted. Everything from... Yeah. But
not my market. So,
but I guess what I'm saying is, given all the adaptations, I guess the closest that has succeeded so far, in as much as it still divided people, was the Harry Potter series.
Yeah, I mean, the Harry Potter movies had a distinct look and feel, but then because I guess also of J.K. Rowling's deep involvement with production, they really squeezed in a lot of details and provided material for many trivia games
even if they changed a lot of things
Yeah.
for the movie version. So it's something to hope for. And given that, what are your hopes for this movie?
That it's not terrible and that we don't have a return to voiceover thoughts.
I hope that they make the sandworms terrifying. I hope that they capture that they're like a force of nature and not just a monster in the sand.
It's not just terrifying. It really should be, in a way, majestic. Or because it's like, it's really something that's so large that that a whole people decide to worship it as a god.
Exactly.
Because it is huge.
And I want to see it actually, affect everything in its wake. I mean, we have always the classic scene of it rising.
1984 Dune did pretty well because there was like lightning for some reason around it, and it doesn't make sense.
It's like it shifted the atmosphere.
It was
with
beautiful
its very presence.
because of the static of its passing, because of the sand rubbing against its plates. It's a thing in itself. You got to give a lot of credit to 1984 Dune.
And I really hope that this movie will give us the awe upon seeing the Shai Hulud better than the upcoming.
Also the worm.
Than the upcoming new Tremors movie.
It is amazing that Tremors has a new movie. And thing.
I'll be afraid if the new Tremors movie is better than this one.
Little thing is that I didn't know this movie existed until I watched Tremors, because we were watching Tremors as a kid, and Tremors is a really cheesy B-movie science fiction thing. And then my uncle was like, "Oh wow, you should have seen the sandworms in Dune." And like, wait, Dune had a movie? How did I not know this? And then we had to go back. So, oh my god, forgot to talk about how I even got into this franchise. But hey,
no, we have time. Go for it.
Well, it's
to wrap up.
in all honesty, I only found out about Dune because of Dune 2, which is one of the very first real-time strategy games.
Yes.
And I was so fascinated by the story behind it because Dune 2, the building of a dynasty, was in it. They captured the essence of the story, threw in a new faction called the Ordos, where we never know where they really came from. And then I started digging into it. Then I played the first Dune video game, which is more of an adventure game with a strategy element for some reason. That borrowed a lot from the movie aesthetic, and then the rabbit hole got in there, and I had an earlier copy of this cover of Dune, and I read it, and it blew my mind away in the 4th grade, and I kept rereading it many years hence. I love it, and I loved it to bits that my first copy of Dune fell apart. So I had to get this copy, and then I got this one because it's pretty, and it has a Neil Gaiman introduction. But then, because of the coming movie, they've released even more covers for Dune, and I want them because they're beautiful, but I don't need more copies of Dune. So I don't know.
Beyond just the movies, Dune has as well spread its influence. There's a board game that you can find. The board game has an expansion release.
There are still many computer games, most of them strategy games.
And there's an upcoming tabletop role-playing game that should be released eventually. We can't say more, but we were happily part of those who got it.
We're in the beta. It's an interesting attempt.
Yes.
It's definitely trying. It definitely. Blah, blah, blah.
So yeah,
embargo.
Ultimately, Dune is alive and well despite how long it's been around. The upcoming movie, we're cautiously, optimistically excited for it.
Yeah, it's like when people ask me about, hey, are you excited about the new Transformers movie? And like, we'll see when it comes out, So I don't know. Because I recognize it's difficult material to adapt, and the previous methods kind of really just dictated like either you go super accurate and then it gets boring and wordy, or you need more time, thus you make a miniseries, but it's still very wordy. Nobody knows the aesthetics of it, so we can't seem to agree what it's going to look like. And every director wants to give their own stamp on it. And maybe we should have just let Jodorowsky make his Dune.
So to end this episode, I will have you answer one question.
Because I'm still answering questions.
Given the many changes that do happen when translations happen, what do you feel is the one scene that if it was removed, the movie has failed to do a Dune movie?
Ooh, I don't know. I guess to frustrate people who were with us earlier in the stream is that you got to do the agony box right. The Gom Jabbar is a key moment for Paul, and if you don't do that well, I don't know. I don't know what movie you're making.
I feel the same, only because it's also from that scene that one of the most iconic quotes. That
the litany against fear.
It's super popular, and many don't realize it's from Dune.
Especially now, because this is a time of fear, and fear is the mind killer.
Yes.
So don't give in to fear.
And so, with that is 30 minutes. We had a lot of fun, and we hope you will join us again next time.
Oh, I gotta do my thing. And then if you have questions for us, or where is it? If you have questions for us, or suggestions for future episodes, be sure to fill out the bit.ly form, bit.ly Baduy Pride Ideas. You can follow us on Twitter. That's Altobi No Shade, and I am RG Suniko.
You can also check out our blog, which is baduypride.com. It has everything from our previous episodes to photos and posts about what we've gone through in the many years we've been together.
Yeah, in case you're late, we're a couple. Pretty gay. Okay. And then I think that covers it. So feel free to continue the conversation in the comments below and let us know what you think about any of the Dune movies. Are you excited for the new Dune 2020 movie? Or you just want to see Timothée Chalamet in anything?
If you actually end up watching the old movies because you watch this, you can tell us no, and we'd be very happy to know that we helped.
Even if you hate it, I understand. It's difficult stuff. And then be sure to subscribe for notifications, whether on Facebook or YouTube, so you don't miss out on our next live stream. Once again, I'm Rocky.
And I'm Toby.
And this is Baduy Pride. We got an end screen.